Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 2nd December. The news items which we have picked up from the Hindu are these 12. We'll discuss them in detail. The first one, Delhi High Court reverses ban on combination drugs. So these are fixed dose combination drugs, FDC drugs which are being discussed. So these FDC drug means a drug in which 2 or more drugs are combined together in fixed ratio of doses and they are available as a single dose. So generally when you are sick and you are given medicines by a doctor, there are 3-4 pills which you are provided with. So rather than taking separate pills, if there is a single pill which contains proper ratio, fixed ratio of all the medicines which are required as a single pill, it is better. It ensures patient compliance also, that he'll take the drug. Plus it also ensures that the cost is reduced. Also there is no separate patent for FDCs. So that is also there. Plus, even in some cases when a medicine may cause some side effects, so even a FDC can ensure that the side effect is also neutralized. So this is especially there in case of diabetic patients. So these are the benefits of FDCs. The government had banned 344 FDC medicines in India in March in an order. This order was challenged in the high courts. More than 400 petitions were filed by various pharmaceutical companies and the order was stayed by the judiciary. Now presently the Delhi High Court has quashed this order and it says that this ban by the government on these FDCs cannot be upheld. So now the justification given for this is discussed. These Corex cough syrup, Vicks Action 500 extra, these were also various medicines, anti-diabetes medicines were part of this ban. So this March 10 notification in which the government had banned these FDCs, it said that these drugs have no therapeutic efficiency, means they are not having any better efficiency than single dose drugs or than other drugs available. So now this judgment was given based on a recommendation of this Kokate committee which was set up by it. So this history is also discussed. We'll talk about this. What the Supreme Court judgment says that this also it is there under a provision of the act. So there is this Drug Act which is here, Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So there is Drugs and Cosmetic Act under section 26A gives the power to the government to prohibit manufacture of drugs and cosmetics in public interest. So of course the government says that this March notification was in public interest because there was no therapeutic efficiency. But the High Court argues that it requires that this therapeutic efficiency is not there should be proved through scientific technical reasoning, not just based on the recommendation or the viewpoint of the government. So this it should have taken advice of the Drug Technical Advisory Board and the Drugs Consultative Committee which have been constituted under this Drugs and Cosmetics Act, and it should not give such haphazard decisions and orders. So this is the point on which this order of quashing FDCs has been, of banning FDCs has been reversed. So this you can see the bench said Center first claimed that licenses for the manufacture of FDCs between September 1988 and October 2012 were wrongly granted by the state licensing authorities and had no approval of the drug controller. So this was Center's stand first. Then it said instead of cancelling those licenses, the manufacturers were asked to apply for licenses again. And rather than the drug controller and the 10 controller being taken into picture, 10 committees were constituted by the government to consider the applications, these licensing applications. When these committees failed to do the job, the government established Kokate committee. And this Kokate committee, instead of considering the applications of licenses for approval, it went into aspects of risk to consumers because of these FDCs, and based on its recommendation, this March 10 notification of the center came. So this whole history has been put forth by the bench of the Delhi High Court too, and based on this it has quashed the center's order. So of course the center says that we will challenge this order in the Supreme Court. So this is fixed dose combination drugs. So you can see. So ban was put forth here. You can see how 344 drugs were banned in March by the government. So close to 500 petitions were filed in 10 high courts against this drug ban. So of course pharmaceutical companies were up in arms against this order. So this is the fixed dose combination drugs and how it can be beneficial. So rather than so many, you take only one. Rather than these, you take only two. So examples given and the benefits. So these are the advantages as we discussed. Then the next article is universities should be free of bureaucratic control. UGC, University Grants Commission Chairman Ved Prakash has said that universities in India should be free from bureaucratic control. He says that this results in there being no motivation or incentive to innovate in higher education. He also talks of financial crisis in higher education. There is much more funding needed for higher education. He also talks of gross enrollment ratio, number of children being enrolled. So this gross enrollment ratio also has huge regional disparities. Some regions have very low gross enrollment ratio. So this area needs to be addressed. He also talks of transition rate issues, that is students going from primary to secondary, secondary to higher secondary education. Here too they face difficulties because of lack of competencies. So this has to be addressed. Then another thing he talks of is the disconnect between the academics and the industry. What students learn in universities and what is required in the industries, in the jobs which they will take up. So this strong disconnect also has to be eliminated. So these are the some points raised in higher education by the UGC chairman. Then the next news article is Indian Meteorological Department's first winter forecast. So in this forecast, the IMD says that the year 2016 will be slightly colder than last year, 2015, but it will be warmer than the normal. So what is normal and what was it in 2015 is shown here. Normal refers to average seasonal temperature over a region between 1961 to 1990. So that average is the normal. And year 2015 had the warmest winters in India since 1901. And the reason for this was the strong El Nino, which is generally affects the monsoons in India. We have lower rainfalls. It results in drought-like conditions. And also this is because of the higher than normal sea surface temperatures, which is the result that 2015 was the warmest winter since 1901. Then another point highlighted is the winter forecast model being used here is dynamical extended range forecasting system. You may or may not remember. It's okay. UPSC may not ask a question on this. So this system has been developed by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Pune, and it uses the same physics and climate models that are used for predicting Indian monsoons. So that is there. Then this is about El Nino. So you should know what is El Nino. So it is shown here. This is the color code for sea surface temperatures. So what happens in normal conditions and what happens in El Nino conditions. So in this here is Australia. This is the Pacific Ocean. This is the South American continent. So what happens in normal conditions are these Walker cells, the wind waves, wind cells which function. These Walker cells result in the movement of the winds as well as the ocean waters in this direction. So this is based on the pressure conditions. So this results in precipitation taking place in Australia. So these are the normal atmospheric circulations. But during El Nino conditions, what happens is that the sea surface temperatures become quite warm. So because of this, the pressure conditions, if temperature is high, pressure is low. If pressure is high, temperature is low. So when temperatures here rise, so then when high temperature, pressure is low. So because of this, the reversal of Walker cells take place, and this results in, you can see the arrow changing. So this reversal in arrow results in precipitation taking place here towards South America rather than towards Australia. So the whole climatic model system is reversed. So this is called El Nino. There is another term called La Nina. So La Nina is normal conditions prevailing but in higher concentration. So that means strong normal conditions. So that is called La Nina. So they are the reverse of each other. Also the difference here is shown in diagrammatic form here. So this El Nino conditions are because of warm water temperatures here in the Western Pacific. So because of these warm waters, the temperatures being high, the pressure goes low. So when pressure is low, so wind above also becomes warm and the pressure goes low. So always you should remember, flow takes place from high pressure to low pressure. So this, because of high temperature, low pressure, the movement is reversed. So we were seeing normal movement is this direction. Here the movement is in this direction. So when movement takes place from here to here, the warm waters here accumulate here, and this results in precipitation taking place on this side rather than towards Australia. So Australia also faces drought rather than monsoons because of El Nino, and it affects further east also, that is Asia. India is also affected because of strong El Nino conditions, and we also face drought. And there are precipitation here in South America to Atacama Desert, which is located here. So there are rainfalls in desert also because of this reversal of conditions. And in La Nina you can see stronger than normal easterly. So here the thermocline goes up in this direction. So this is shown here. Then the next news item is India's first private moon mission next year. So this is regarding Team Indus, which we have also discussed on 24th November in news. It is a Bengaluru based private aerospace company which has many high profile investors including Ratan Tata, Nandan Nilekani, co-founder of Infosys, Sachin and Binny Bansal, co-founders of Flipkart. So these are investing in Team Indus, which aims to land a spacecraft on moon which will travel at least 500 meters and beam high definition video, images and data back to Earth. So this is part of Google Lunar X Prize competition too. So this is the mission of Google X Prize itself. So this is what it plans to achieve, and this Google Lunar X will provide rupees 200 crore prize, and the cost of this mission will be approximately 450 crore rupees. So of course the mission's objectives are much more than just winning the Google Lunar X Prize. It has already won 1 crore rupees as being successful in reaching up to this stage. Presently the news is that it has decided to use ISRO's PSLV rocket for its launch, and the spacecraft, it says, will be launched on 28 December 2017. So this has been decided now, and this 28 December 2017 is also the deadline for Google Lunar X Prize, by which date the competitors should have launched their satellite. So this is there. There are 4 agencies, private agencies, 2 are US based companies which have been achieved some success so far and will be launching their satellites. So this is Moon Express, Synergy Moon, US based, and also Israeli company Space 1L. So they have so far announced agreements with space launch vehicle companies such as SpaceX, which is again a private company, through which they will launch their satellites. Also under Google Lunar X Prize, it is required that it should be private companies and 90% funding should be privately done, not the government funded. So this is there. And with respect to India, ISRO, we have already launched Chandrayaan-1. So Chandrayaan-1 was launched in 2008. It was India's first space mission to moon, in which a spacecraft, an orbiter, orbited the moon, plus also a lander struck on the surface of the moon, though it was not a soft landing. Later we lost contact with the orbiter, but then the mission was finally closed with achieving 95% of its objectives as it was declared. Also it has detected water in the surface, moon soil. So that was a major achievement as well. And Chandrayaan-2 of course is also proposed to be launched. There is no date which has been decided yet, but Chandrayaan-2 will have not just an orbiter moving around the moon, orbiting the moon, but also a lander which will land on the surface of the moon, and a rover which will move across over the surface of the moon, collecting soil samples and other data. So this is also planned by ISRO. This is regarding Google Lunar X Prize, the challenge, and about Team Indus, which we have discussed on 24th November. Now the next news item is 3 CMs opt out of digitization panel. We have already seen yesterday that the government has set up a panel on digitization, moving towards cashless economy or less cash economy. So it has been chaired by Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, and also 3 other chief ministers from various political parties were included under it. But then presently the news is that these 3 CMs have opted out of the digitization panel. So they were from Bihar, Nitish Kumar of JDU, Tripura's Manik Sarkar, who is of political party CPIM, and Puducherry's Narayan Swamy, who was from Congress. So So all three have opted out of the digitization panel, citing various reasons. One citing that he does not have the technical capabilities to make any recommendations on the committee. Another citing even the pains of demonetization which common people are facing and not having him to be part of it. So these are the points of view put forth. So of course all parties are not together with the government on this issue. Chandrababu Naidu belongs to Telugu Desam party, but then Telugu Desam party is an ally of BJP. So that is there. Another BJP chief minister from Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, is also there on board. So he belongs to BJP itself. So this is the updation to that digitization panel news. Then the next news item is cooperative banks deliberately kept away. The cooperative banks have accused the center of having kept them out of the demonetization initiative. They were not the primary exchange facilities post demonetization. So the center in its affidavit before the Supreme Court right now, the Supreme Court is hearing the case on demonetization. The center says that the cooperative banks were deliberately kept away, and it accuses them of low level professionalism among their staff and low level of automation. They also say, the center says that the capability of these cooperative banks to detect fake currency Indian notes is also low. It says they do not ensure sufficiently that the KYC norms are upheld, that is know your customer norms. Also it says that these cooperative banks are controlled by respective state governments and not the RBI. So these were the reasons why cooperative banks were kept out. So cooperative banks are established under the Cooperative Societies Acts of state government. So they differ from commercial banks in this matter. And there are three levels of cooperative banks. At state level you have state cooperative banks, then district cooperative banks at district level, and primary cooperative societies banks at rural level. The next news item is US for closer defense ties with India. So this is regarding the National Defense Authorization Act 2017, which will be passed by the US Congress. So Congress here means US Parliament. Indian Parliament is two houses, same way Congress is the name for the Parliament in USA, which comprises of two houses again, House of Representatives and Senate. So this US Congress will pass this act, and this act has some provisions with respect to India as well. So it seeks to recognize India's status as major defense partner of US. So this designation has already been given to India in June 2016, major defense partner, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited USA. There were also plans to designate India as major non-NATO ally, but then this was abandoned because of lack of support from various members in the Congress. So this is one provision. Another provision is with respect to technology transfer to India and defense cooperation. So it should be consistent with US conventional arms transfer policy. It also designates an individual within the executive branch of the government to ensure success of bilateral defense ties between India and USA. It seeks to strengthen the effectiveness of US-India defense trade and technology initiative. Also, it wants the durability of Department of Defense India Rapid Reaction Cell to be longer, ensuring that reviews of ties with India take place on a regular basis. So these are the provisions with respect to India, strengthening India-US defense relations, which are part of this act. With respect to Pakistan also, this act says that there is a need to tighten the screw. It does not say, it wants to tighten the screws on Pakistan to ensure that it acts against Haqqani terror network. So funding is provided to Pakistan so that it acts against them. So Haqqani terror network is active in Pakistan, and they are the ones who attack in Afghanistan. So the Afghan terrorists taking refuge in Pakistan. So this happens here. So USA wants Pakistan to act against them, and it is seen, USA has also realized that Pakistan is not serious on acting against terrorists. So now this new act has this funding tied, means it's a tied funding. So ties $400 million of the $900 million in coalition support funds for Pakistan for 2017 to the certification of Secretary of Defense. So if the Defense Secretary certifies it, it will get this amount, $400 million. Otherwise, Pakistan would not get this much out of the $900 million for 2017. So this certification had earlier also been denied in 2016. $300 million were not released because Defense Secretary Ash Carter refused to certify in favor of Pakistan. So this requirement has again been put forth. So this is required to ensure that Pakistan takes steps to come and to ensure that it prevents Haqqani network from using Pakistani soil as safe haven. The next news item is Colombia's legislature ratifies peace deal. So this is regarding Colombia, the South American country, and the President Juan Manuel Santos, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for 2016 too, because of his efforts to have a peace deal with FARC, which is a terrorist organization which has been active for last 52 years. It is a 52-year-old armed conflict civil war in Colombia, which needs to end now. Both sides are ready. The peace deal which was finalized was put to referendum, but it lost by a thin margin in the referendum. So people rejected this peace deal because it was seen that it gave very much more concessions to the FARC, which should be prosecuted for the crimes which it has committed, drug trafficking, abductions and deaths, which it has resulted in because of its activities. So this originally, of course, it was to protect the rights of the peasants, but it became a full-fledged armed organization, bringing in civil unrest as well. So this point resulted in the peace deal being rejected because of amnesty being given and also FARC being given reservation in parliamentary elections in the future. So this deal now has been renegotiated, finalized and passed by the Colombia's legislature. So of course the opposition parties reject this, that if a deal has been rejected in people's referendum, how can it now be passed by the legislature? So even though it was rejected in the referendum, post that the Nobel Peace Prize was announced and President Juan Manuel Santos received this Nobel Prize for his efforts to bring in peace. So this is regarding Colombia. You can see here an FARC. Right. So then this is its activities: kidnapping, assassination, drug trafficking. It was growing in numbers till 2002. Now into the deal had also been negotiated for 4 years now with the help of even Havana, which is Cuba. Cuba was the broker in this deal too, assisting in bringing in peace. Then the next news item is officials want Coal India broken up. Coal India Limited is the world's largest producer of coal. It's the largest coal miner in the world. It is a huge company. Critics call it bloated and inefficient. Bloated means it has overemployed. So a proposal has been put forth to bifurcate or segregate Coal India Limited into 7 different companies. So they say this will bring in efficiency and competitiveness. But then trade unions would be up in arms against any such move. In 2014 too, such a proposal was put forth, which was rejected completely by trade unions because they feel that if such an initiative is put forth, then there will be many who will become unemployed because of these measures. So India is the 3rd largest producer of coal in the world, but it is also the 3rd largest importer of coal in the world as well. So our coal requirements have been increasing. The country depends on coal for its power generation up to 70%. So 70% of India's power comes from coal. So there is a need to bring in more efficiency. Also, the present Modi government had fast-tracked environmental clearances and other clearances, because of which coal production has increased drastically. Also, billions of dollars are put in bringing in modern machinery to increase productivity of Coal India Limited. So there are efforts in this direction, but not sufficient. The government wants to almost double the production of coal by 2020 in India. So these initiatives for these which have been suggested, so this has been the proposal put forth, that you have to break Coal India Limited into 7 different companies. So that is the news right now. So this you can see coal, the areas from where coal is produced, and non-coking coking coal production in India. So non-coking coal production is high. Coal India Limited too, you can see, single largest coal producer in the world. Established in 1975, it's a Maharatna recognized as such in 2011. So it has around 7 wholly owned coal producing subsidiaries, 1 mine planning and consultancy company spread over 8 states. So it's a huge organization. It's also the second largest employer in the country after railways. So this is regarding coal demand and production too, and the imports which are increasing in India, you can see. Then the next news item is wild silk protein helps in faster scar-free healing of wounds. Indian researchers from Guwahati have developed a non-fibrous mat which can be used for healing wounds. So this is made of non-protein polymer and which is mixed with silk protein. This is non-mulberry silk, also called Muga and Eri silk. So this silk has been used. It is coated with an antibiotic and epidermal growth factor. So this helps in this silk protein has these amino acid sequence which helps in attracting these progenitor cells, which are cells which come to the wound site to help in healing process. So since it attracts more cells in the it helps in accelerating the healing process. So this helps in better healing, quicker healing. The mulberry silk, domesticated silk which is generally available, that does not have this amino acid sequence, so it does not help in healing the way wild silk helps. So that is the research done. Then the next news item is elements named after Tennessee, Japan and Moscow. So the periodic table has got 4 new elements which have been officially named now. They had been discovered, now the official name has been finalized, and as per the IUPAC, which is International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, the norm which is followed, tradition is that these discovered elements are named after a place, a geographical region or a scientist. So these 4 new names which have come forth are for these elements 113, 117 and 115 and 118. So these have been named. One is named after Japan. So it's called Nihonium. So this Nihon is the name for Japan in the Japanese language. So it means land of the rising sun. So Nihonium is element 113. So this was discovered by Japanese scientists. So this is the first element in the periodic table which has been named after Japan or anyone from Asia. So this is the significance. Then another one is element 115 which is named Moscovium after Russian capital Moscow. So this was a joint team of Russian and US scientists, but more of the relevant research was done in Russia. So that's why it's named Moscovium. And for similar reasons, element 117 has been named Tennessee, which is named after US state of Tennessee. And the last one, fourth one, and element 118 is named after Russian nuclear physicist Yuri Oganessian. So it's named Oganesson. So these are the 4 new elements, synthetic elements in the periodic table. So elements up to number 104 are naturally occurring, found in nature, and post that all elements are synthetic elements, synthesized in laboratories. So this periodic table, you should know, the modern periodic table is in the sequence which is based on atomic number. Atomic number is the number of electrons orbiting a nucleus in an atom or the number of protons in the nucleus of an atom. So the numbers are equal for any element. So this electrons carry negative charge and protons carry positive charge. So both are same in number, so they cancel each other. So atomic number is this number. Atomic mass number is the mass. Electrons have negligible mass. So the mass is concentrated in the nucleus in protons and neutrons. So there are 3 subatomic particles majorly which we know of. There are further subatomic particles too, but these are the 3 majors. So protons and neutrons are concentrated in the nucleus, so that is where the mass is concentrated. So atomic mass number is addition of number of protons and neutrons. So that mass number was earlier used to finalize the periodic table. Then post that, you should know Mendeleev's periodic table is based on atomic number, which is also called the modern periodic table now. So this periodic table is shown here. And the last news item is unmanned ISS cargo ship burns up in atmosphere. So this is Progress cargo ship which was launched by Russian space agency Roscosmos from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. So Kazakhstan is the country former part of Soviet Union from which Russian launches take place. So here the Progress cargo ship launched on Soyuz carrier rocket, burnt up shortly after its launch in atmosphere. So this incident is not the first one. In April 2015, two Progress cargo ship launch failure had taken place. At that time, Russia had said that this incident has to be thoroughly investigated because a similar type of rocket is used for manned missions as well. So Russia is the only major spacecraft which is presently servicing ISS, International Space Station, where astronauts are staying and experimenting on space as such, on how people can live in space, experimenting on microgravity in other aspects in space. So this International Space Station, which is a joint initiative of various countries, USA, Russia, or Japan, European Space Agency, are all part of it. So this is presently being serviced only majorly by Russia because US space shuttle program ended in 2011. So post that, it is Russia which is taking care of providing supplies, food, fuel, water and all other equipments to ISS. So this failure is then needs to be investigated again. So this you can see Baikonur Cosmodrome, the launch site, and the Progress cargo spacecraft. This again shows you the Progress cargo ship and its failure earlier to highlighted. Then these are the various vehicles which are presently servicing ISS. Progress and Soyuz are Russian. ATV is of European Space Agency, but this has also been retired after its last launch in 2014. HTV of JAXA is another one which is being built up and presently is used minorly. Majorly it is Russian spacecrafts which service International Space Station. So that is it for today. Thank you so much. You can download the PDF from the website. The link is provided in the description of this video. Thank you.